Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to my tutorial for exercise 4 of the Chapter 8 coding assignment associated with the Zelle 3rd edition book. And we've been working with these demonstration programs that I made available in the weekly schedule, and we're going to do that again for this one. And we're going to be working with this 15 processing data records using while. So again, I'm going to open this in just a regular text editor, and I'm going to bring it over a piece at a time, and I'm going to recommend that you do the same rather than typing it in. All right. All right, so what's this one's called? This one's called 15 Processing Data Records Using While. All right, so let me create a Python file for it. Underscore 15 processing data records using while. Okay, that's good. And let's bring over the doc string. If I can highlight it accurately. Okay. So let's see. It says demonstrate processing data records using while. It transforms records with names in natural order to records with names in sort order. Well, we've done that in a previous chapter, so you're not going to be too surprised. Many data store technologies support reading data without the for in construct, and Python files support the readline method, which is the method that we use when we're not using the for in construct. Okay, so that's what our stuff's going to look like. Before we start bringing over code, let's look at the data. Okay, so I don't think I have the data files over here. I'm going to have to copy them in. And I've got one called personnames.txt. Okay, and we're going to be using empty file.txt, but we already have that. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it into my data subdirectory so that I've got that when I need it. Okay, and you may have seen the names here before. This is a group of names I use a lot, and they think there are 125 of them. Okay, and this is in natural name order, which is first name, last name, which is the natural order for names in the United States. Okay, it's not the natural order for names all over the world, as we very well know. Okay, but it is a natural order for names here, and that's why we're calling it the natural order. Okay, and we're going to want to be putting it into sort order, which is last name, comma, space, first name. Okay, and we did an exercise like this a couple of weeks ago. All right, so that's what we're doing. Okay, nothing all that new, but we're going to be doing it using a while loop rather than doing it using for in. It's really all that's going on here. Okay, so I'm going to bring over the top of main so we can start talking about it. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to bring over the last couple of lines so we have a call to main. So I can get that over. Okay, good. All right, So, not surprisingly, we have some kind of initialization code, and the very last thing that we're doing is the first read on the input file. Okay, infile dot readline. Okay, that's the priming read. Again, my comment was for the teaching point, not because we have to leave a comment on that. Okay, so what are we doing? Well, we can really divide this up into um, uh, specifying the directory name for the data, okay, and then uh, uh, it, getting the name for the input file name from the user, and then building this in-file path and name, and then doing an open with the read function. Okay. And now, we're doing a trick that I do a lot, and I think that other programmers do too. But there are times when you would like your output file to be sort of a derivation of the input file name. And sometimes we will prepend some characters to the front of the file name, or we might create a suffix. Here, I decided that it was going to be the same as the name of the input file name with sort order underscore prepended to it. Okay, and I think that's a pretty good practice. And then, of course, we go through and we declare all the things for this. And when we open it for writing, we set the encoding to UTF-8, which is maybe not something we always have to do, but it's the safest thing to do. We want to control the encoding and not have it left up to some default in the environment. And we have a line count for the counts that we read, so we initialize that to 0 and we do our priming read. Okay, so I'm going to close these up because they're all part of the initialization. All right, and now I'm going to bring over the while loop, which is pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay, and what we're saying here is while line is not equal to the empty string. So it turns out that when we're reading a file, okay, that when we reach the end of file, the signal that we get is we get an empty string back. Now, I'm not sure I mentioned this on the last one, but sometimes I'll say that to somebody and say, well, isn't it possible that we might have some empty strings in the file and how we're going to distinguish them? And I'm going to remind you that all the lines in our files end with a new line. So even empty lines have something in them. They have a new line. This last thing that we get that says that we've reached the end of the file doesn't have a new line in it. It is truly the empty string. Okay? So we say when we haven't reached the end of the file, and of course we can do that because we had a priming read. And what do? We bump up the line count. Okay. We take the line and we split it and we unpack it into first name, last name. I do the formatting and the printing in 2 steps. You don't have to, but I always like to make it a little bit easier to read. So the content that I'm going to put on the output line, I call content, and I format it with an F string, last name, comma, space, first name, and I print the content to the out file. And again, at the very bottom of these while loops, we want to read the line. Okay, so we read in 2 places, at the bottom of the while loop, and then we have this one priming read to set the whole construct up. Okay, so this kind of processing we're used to, we've been doing it, we just hadn't been doing it in a while loop. Okay. And then let's put the rest of the code in here. And again, you're not going to be surprised by any of this because you've seen this before. We're going to close the input file because it's the right thing to do. Okay. And then we're going to print 2 lines, pretty lines that we formatted with F strings. The first one is going to say line count records were read from in file name, line count records were written to out file name. Okay, and we want this to work with empty file.txt and person names .txt. All right, let's do our testing. So we're going to run it, and let's do the easy case, empty file.txt. And it says 0 records were read from empty file.txt, 0 records were written to sort order empty file.txt. So we even created an output version of the empty file.txt, and it had better be empty, and it is. All right, that's good. So let's run it with the real data. So we run it again, and we say person names dot text, and that didn't work. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Let's try it again. Person names dot text. Okay, and there we are. That looks good. 125 records were read from person names.txt, and 125 were written to sort order person names.txt. And if we open up sort order person names.txt, we'll see that they are the sort order names. Now, the order of the names is appropriate for sorting. That doesn't mean that we have sorted the lines into order. We'll start sorting lines into order when we get to chapter 11. Okay, and do we have 125 lines? Yes, we do. Well, that looks great. So again, the one that you're going to do is kind of like this, but not the same one. And I'm going to say bye and let you go do that. So bye-bye.